The Kansas City Chiefs, as we all know, in the 2019-20 NFL season won the Super Bowl, and it's safe to say in the 2020-21 season, they've continued that success. With an impressive win against the New Orleans Saints recently, they have improved to 13-1. And right now, they're looking damn near unbeatable, and by far the best team in the NFL. However, there's one team that I really feel like could be a really big threat to Kansas City, and that is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills this year, as we all know, have been great. They've clinched the AFC East already and are right now 11-3, which is good for the second seed in the AFC. But how is this team exactly a threat to the Chiefs? Well, that's what I'm going to be going over in today's video. But before we do get started, please make sure to like the video if you guys enjoyed, as it really helps out the channel. Subscribe if you guys are new, as I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and it would be greatly appreciated if we could reach that goal. When we hit that goal, I will react to my first 2 videos, so if you guys want to see that, please and enjoy the videos on this channel, please make sure to like the videos, as there are videos like this already on the channel, and there will be more in the future. But with all of that being said, let's just get this video started. And I first want to take a look at this Buffalo Bills roster, and we gotta start out with Josh Allen, who this year has been fantastic. How else do I put it? He's a great dual threat quarterback, as so far this year, he's thrown for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions on a 69% completion percentage. And on the ground, he's rushed for 383 yards and 9 touchdowns. And he's been having an MVP-esque season. The guy went from a basic laughingstock for being very inaccurate to a very accurate MVP-esque quarterback this year. If you ask me, he's going to be one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, and he could be a future MVP. Who knows? But moving on, we should also talk about Devin Singletary, who has been disappointing this year, as many people expected him to have a big jump. However, he's still a very solid player, as so far in 2020, he's rushed for 644 yards, 2 touchdowns, and averaged 4.5 yards a carry. We should also talk about Zach Moss, and Zach Moss has been pretty fine. And so far this year, he's rushed for 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging 4.3 yards a carry. And next, we should move on to the receiving corps, and we gotta start out with Stefon Diggs, who they acquired in the 2020 offseason via trade from the Minnesota Vikings. And this year, he's just been fantastic. So far, he's received for 1,314 yards, 5 touchdowns on a 75.5% catch percentage. I mean, he's just been fantastic this year. How else do I put it? It was clear last year Buffalo was a good team. However, they really needed a true number 1 wide receiver. As good as John Brown is, he's not exactly a number 1 guy. And Stefon Diggs was just that guy, and he's been having a career year. And it's a pretty good thing that he made the Pro Bowl. I believe he did. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But anyways, moving on, we should talk about John Brown, who I mentioned before. John Brown, even though he struggled with injury this year, is still a very good deep threat wide receiver, and is kind of underrated to me. I feel like people don't talk about him enough, as he's just a really good deep threat. How else do I put it? This year in limited games, he's received for 386 yards, 2 touchdowns, only catching 60% of his passes. However, when the guy is healthy, he is one of the best deep threats in the NFL. And another guy I want to give love to in this receiving corps is Cole Beasley, who's one of the most underrated slot receivers in the NFL. So far, he's at 950 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, catching 77.5% of his passes. And I mean, he's just a really good slot receiver, and I feel like people got to give this guy some more respect. We should also talk about Gabe Davis, who's a very good and solid wide receiver, who's received for 459 yards, 6 touchdowns, catching 58% of his passes. And moving on from the offense, we should talk about the defense, and I want to start talking about Jerry Hughes. And Jerry Hughes is a very solid pass rusher, along with being a very good veteran leader. He's so far in 2020, he's at 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 20 pressures. Another guy I want to talk about on the front 7 is Mario Addison. Now, Mario Addison is a very solid player and is kind of underrated. He's had 5 sacks and 11 pressures this year so far in 2020. Next up, moving on to the secondary, is Tre'Davious White, who is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Last year, this man was an All-Pro, as he was tied with Anthony Harris and Stephon Gilmore for leading the league in interceptions with 6. And this year, he's continued his fantastic play with 3 interceptions and 11 passes defended. And I mean, he's just a great cornerback. How else do I put it? I also want to talk about Jordan Poyer, who's a nice and solid safety, who so far has had 2 interceptions and 5 passes defended. And this next guy I want to talk about, Levi Wallace, is one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the NFL. This year, he's been pretty nice and just great for the Bills. He's had 2 interceptions and 7 passes defended. And the final player I want to talk about is Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde is a pretty good safety. He's a great special teams player, along with being a good defensive player too, as he is the safety, obviously. And so far, he has had 1 interception and 5 passes defended. But that's going to wrap out the roster for today's video, as I'm looking at this Bills roster. Now, this roster is very talented, obviously. They are great on both sides of the ball. But why are they threats to Kansas City? First off, Josh Allen has just been playing fantastic, as I said before. He's a borderline MVP candidate, and the offense has a lot of talent. They have a good offensive line, a solid and just okay run game. However, they have a really good, nice receiving core with guys like Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Gabe Davis, and more. And of course, they obviously average 29 points per game, and they have the 5th best overall offense. So their offense is very good. They also have a very solid defense too, which is really important when you're facing a team like the Chiefs, who have a very, very, very good offense. And you really do need that against the best offense in the NFL, let alone you need a solid defense to win a championship. And against wide receivers, they only allow 148.5 yards a game, which is very useful. They're also great at forcing turnovers, as they have 22 takeaways, with 12 of them being in the air, with 12 of them obviously being interceptions. But anyways, this team, as I said before, is very talented on both sides of the ball. With all that talent, with Josh Allen's fantastic play, and the fact that Sean McDermott is a very good coach, I do think this team is really good. And Kansas City, I'd be afraid of this Buffalo team. Now you might be wondering, Rahul, why not a team like Pittsburgh or Tennessee or Cleveland or someone like that? Well, Pittsburgh, as we all know, has been pretty sloppy these past few games, as they recently just lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And you cannot lose to teams like the Cincinnati Bengals if you're a team like the Steelers. And with how they've been playing, if they keep this up, I don't think they're going to be making much noise in the playoffs. The Titans this year, as we all know, have been a really good team. However, as good as their offense is, their defense and special teams are not good, and Tennessee's defense and special teams really got to pick it up, because Tennessee's not going to be winning a championship. I really do hate to say it, they are not winning a championship if the defense and the special teams continue to play like that. Cleveland is basically like Tennessee. Baker Mayfield has been pretty good this year, and the Browns have just been looking a lot better. However, aside from Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and kind of Olivier Vernon, they are not great on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I will also give a shout out to Indianapolis, as they have been pretty good. However, I think Buffalo is the biggest threat to the Chiefs. They have an explosive offense with a magnificent quarterback, an amazing offense, as I said before, and they also have a really nice defense. And if you ask me, they have a lot of tools that they can use to beat Kansas City. Sean McDermott is also a really good coach, and good coaching is just ideal to a good team. And if you ask me, the Bills will be a contender for years to come. And this year, I think they're the biggest Chiefs threat to the Chiefs, as I said before. But with all that being said, that's going to be the end of today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to like the video, as it really helps out the channel. Subscribe if you guys are new and enjoyed today's video, as I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and it would be greatly appreciated if we could reach that goal. When we hit that goal, I will react to my first 2 videos. So if you guys want to see that and enjoy the videos on here, please make sure to subscribe, as there are videos like this already on the channel, and there will be more in the future. But with all that being said, you guys, I'm out.